Fans get another year of these two guys. And we are underway. Naheem McLeod wins the tip from Ryan Dunn. And the orange in their traveling orange uniforms. And what has once again become the common script lettering this season. And Virginia in the home whites.
Well, Beekman, as we suspected, in the man-to-man, matched up against Mintz.
This is J.J. Starling. Into the lane, can't get the roll. McLeod got a hand on it, but it goes out of bounds to the Cavaliers.
But part of the problem for Virginia, Doug, as you look at their starting lineups, is when somebody drives the ball to the basket, the defense has to rotate to help, and that makes it tougher to rebound the ball on the defensive end. And Virginia has struggled with that all year. So as the game goes on, we'll see how that develops. Yeah, both of these teams have been out-rebounded by their opponents this season, which is hard to believe when you've got two teams with a combined 11-3 one-loss record. Jake Groves back in the starting lineup for UVA for a second straight game. Here he is off the pass into the corner from Beekman, and he is off the mark. And for Syracuse, Judah Mintz and J.J. Starling in the backcourt, along with hometown guy Justin Taylor, whose high school is less than a mile from here. And then Chris Bell and Naheem McLeod, who we've seen, the big 7'4" transfer from Florida State. He gets the lob. Easy to finish there when nobody's around you. That's really good play by Judah Mintz. I thought they had that before, but he didn't recognize it. And Syracuse in their last couple games, they've been trying to go to McLeod early to get him involved. Beekman gets a step on the defender, gets it out to Dunn. He continues to be a work in progress with that three-point shot. Well, neither he, Dunn, nor Beekman shoot the three particularly well. And I think for Virginia to be a really good team, they both have to improve those numbers significantly. Yeah, it continues to be at this end of the court where they are as good a dynamic duo as there is in the country. Justin Taylor's pass nearly stolen. Mintz checks where his feet are, kicks it back outside Taylor. Shot clock down to 3. Bell puts it up and in. 5-0. Syracuse off to a quick start. Well, Bell gets a chance to set his feet. He is a deadly three-point shooter. He's now 11 for 19 over his last 3 games. Up to 7th in the conference in percentage, just a touch under 40% on the year for Bell. Here's Isaac McKneely. And of course, Syracuse, this is a change. They're playing man-to-man defense this year, and it's a very good man-to-man. They're very aggressive on the ball. Starling with the bump as McKneely put it on the deck. Really good job by Syracuse to not panic just because the shot clock's running down, and Bell is able to get his feet set. You've got to run Bell off the three-point line, make him dribble it. And Dan, here's what you were referencing. Adrian Red Autry in his first year as head coach, former Orange point guard, longtime assistant under Jim Boeheim, who, by the way, is making his broadcast debut for us at 2 o'clock today on the ACC network, part of the broadcast team between Florida State and Carolina. Foul on the rebound, going to go against Taylor as Groves crashed the glass. But interestingly, just as we were talking about Syracuse playing man-to-man, they play zone on the underneath out-of-bounds plays, and they were playing zone that time. Block-out responsibilities rather undefined, and nobody got a body on Groves. There you can see a Band-Aid over that right eye. He required a few stitches after getting popped in UVA's last game, the win over number 14 Texas A&M on Wednesday. Head coach Tony Bennett, year number 15. He has never lost an ACC opener, 14-0. And his numbers against Syracuse head-to-head have been very, very good. In fact, UVA has beaten Syracuse the last 5 times. The last time the Orange beat the Cavaliers was back in January of 2020 here at JPJ when Buddy Boeheim went off in overtime. Here goes Mintz all the way to the bucket. Great job by Dunn to change that shot. And that's a great job by Groves to get there before McLeod could get there. Again, the defense chasing the ball, but Virginia's still able to claim the defensive board. Rhodey drive and dish. There to finish is Beekman. The Hoos have their first field goal of the afternoon. Starling thought about the backdoor pass. Mintz was well defended by Beekman. Taylor spotting up. And Groves the defensive rebound for UVA. That's a great job by Groves. He just nudged McLeod just a little bit, get him out of the way. That's not illegal? No.
Third rebound for Groves. Now for 3 at the other end. A little bit short.
Playing the lineup that Virginia has out there, they're going to have to make threes for have that lineup to be really effective.
Into McLeod, who draws a double team. How does he handle it? Not well at the moment, and he's tied up by Ryan Dunn. The ACC season is underway here at John Paul Jones Arena. Back in a moment. Stayed in one of those rooms, although I understand that he spent a lot of those nights over at Coach Holland's house instead, where he had a little more room to himself.
Well, he had a bathroom in his, in the house. He didn't have to walk outside.
Well, here's a look at the non-conference as we start league play. It doesn't mean the non-conference is over. Of course, we've got the rest of the month of December largely dominated by non-conference games, but UVA has largely taken care of its business, as you would hope and expect for the Hoos, right, Dan?
Well, that's exactly what they needed with a relatively young team. Those are 3 really good wins that they've had.
Isaac McKneely challenging the big man to the left-handed finish.
McKneely's a guy who's noted as a three-point shooter, but he lofted that one up. He looked very comfortable doing it.
He sure did. The 5 points from Syracuse answered by 5 from UVA. Same starting 5 still on the floor for the Orange. Here is Mintz being hounded by Beekman. On second effort, can't get the roll. McLeod keeps it alive, but it's McKneely with the rebound. Now Starling picks up Beekman and gets left in his dust. What a move by Reese Beekman.
Well, Starling had to pick up Beekman because Mintz went for the steal and missed, and that created a 5-on-4 situation, and Beekman really took advantage of it.
7 unanswered points for the Hoos.
You can't count on Virginia to just run a lot of time off the clock every time. If they get an advantage, they're going to try to take it. Starling
out to Bell. A little bit strong. McKneely with another rebound. Now Beekman, the senior from Milwaukee, 6'3", 194 pounds. Rhodey off the dribble. One and done at this end for Virginia.
Mintz hasn't really been able to penetrate much so far, a couple of times, but hadn't done any damage.
Taylor sees 2 white shirts, turns around, 10 on the shot clock. Bell caught in the corner, being hounded by Rhodey. Skip pass, Starling for 3. Got it.
Boy, and that's a piece of news right there. He came into this game as a 6% three-point shooter, only had made 1 on the season.
Now 2 for 19 on the year for the sophomore from Baldwinsville, just a few miles from the Syracuse campus. Rhodey drive and dish. Done. Extra pass. McKneely puts it up. And in.
Virginia, that's their first make today in 4 attempts, and they were 4 for 14 from three-point range in the second half against Texas A&M. So a little bit of a cold spell for the Cavaliers.
And in that game, they beat the Aggies 59-47. Taylor traveled.
This is interesting. A guy comes in 1 for 18 from 3. You can see why Virginia's nowhere near him, but he knocks it down. That's got to give him some confidence. And then McKneely, he's a guy can make a 3. You don't give him that much room. If you're playing out there for Virginia and Starling makes that 3, you turn around to the coach who did the scouting report and you say, what?
Well, there's our first look today at Elijah Gertrude, who was headed for a red shirt until the injury to Dante Harris. And so this is his second collegiate game. And Tony Bennett has said they were even considering burning the red shirt for Elijah before the injury, but it just solidified their decision that he would play beginning this week. Blake Buchanan in a tough spot. Malik Brown all over him, pokes it away. Shot clock down to 4. McKneely still at midcourt, doesn't recognize. Well, that's going to hurt his 50% three-point shooting number.
Well, the interesting thing about that is Buchanan he's matched up against Malik Brown, and Brown is very aggressive. Buchanan just not a physical guy, and that would have been a 5-second violation, except Brown kept knocking the ball out of his hands.
Well, it's interesting how different the two Syracuse centers are. As you described, Malik Brown is more of a power forward at 6'8", who's much quicker and more athletic than the big man, Naheem McLeod, who's 7'4", so they come with a different look for whoever they are matching up with. Starling kicks it back. Taylor for three. Nothing but net for the Charlottesville native.
That's a great job by Taylor to maintain his composure to get that one off. But Doug, I'm going to tell you something. If that's the kind of shot that Syracuse is going to shoot contested sort of at the end of a scramble play, they're not going to shoot a very high percentage.
Well, they shot a high percentage, as we just saw in the graphic, against LSU the last time out, as Brown commits the foul that'll send Gertrude to the line. But 4 of 5 starters for Syracuse are now on the board. The only one who hasn't scored is Judah Mintz after the 3 ball by Justin Taylor. Tomorrow, we'll have the exclusive reveal of the college football playoff semifinals in the Rose Bowl game and All-State Sugar Bowl, New Year's Day on ESPN. Reese and the guys will also unveil the New Year's 6 bowl games and have the final top 25 rankings in this 4-hour special. It all starts at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, after Sunday NFL Countdown on ESPN and the app. And here's what's at stake in the ACC Football Championship. Florida State and Louisville, yes, no Clemson this year. The Seminoles in the midst of a magical season. Can they secure their spot in the CFP playoff? They may be down to their 3rd quarterback in the game. It should be interesting. Here is Elijah Gertrude at the free throw line. His first collegiate point. Young man from New Jersey, who they are very high on here in Charlottesville.
Well, the reason they were thinking about taking the red shirt away anyway is he suffered an ACL injury early in his senior high school season, and they were afraid that he wouldn't be able to come all the way back from it, but he has really progressed. He is so explosive.
Well, he is from Jersey City, New Jersey, played at Hudson Catholic, but as you say, he missed his senior year because of that knee injury, but coming along just fine. Judah Mintz, nowhere to go. Reese Beekman moves his feet as well as anybody. 5 to shoot. Starling able to get by his defender. We've got a foul on the rebound as Brown and Buchanan went for the ball.
I think they got Bond.
That'll be Leon Bond III with his first, indeed.
And again, the penetration draws Buchanan, and so he's not available to block out, and Bond doesn't get down and get in front of him, comes over his back.
Good looking stroke at the line for the sophomore from Culpeper, Virginia. Malik Brown is from about an hour away, northeast of where we sit here at John Paul Jones Arena. And he's a good free throw shooter. He's also tremendous in terms of his efficiency on offense, making 75% of his field goal attempts. Now 10 of 11 from the free throw line this year.
And he leads the team. He's got 18 steals.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And again, he is very much different than the starting center for Syracuse. McLeod blocks shots. Brown comes up with steals. We've had 6 lead changes, 1 tie so far in the first 9 minutes. With Dan Bonner, I'm Doug Sherman here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Beekman, nice feed. Bond has trouble gathering, and Benny Williams ripped it away.
Benny Williams, right place, right time. He rotated down.
Mintz still looking for his first points, and as mentioned, going to break 4 of the 5 Syracuse starters have scored. And Dan, that's a good sign for Syracuse that Mintz isn't having to do everything so far this afternoon. Here comes Gertrude to throw down his first UVA bucket.
Somebody got tangled up because he was all alone.
That's a pretty good way to break the seal on your college basketball career. Williams has it rattle out. Beekman tracks down the rebound and then goes right around. Mintz again.
It's a pretty good decision by Beekman to not force it in transition.
Rhodey stepped out of bounds. Back to Syracuse.
Virginia's not noted as a transition team, but at the top of your screen, they just lose Gertrude. He's all alone. Not going to get an easier basket than that. That was his first basket, and he should remember it because he won't get an easier one in his entire college career.
6'4", 185-pound freshman. And as you talked about, Dan, he is explosive and getting back to where he was a couple of years ago athletically. Syracuse has missed 8 of its last 10 from the field. No surprise against this excellent UVA defense, number 2 in the country in points per game allowed. Benny Williams hunting his own shot, able to flip it up and in.
And hunting is a good word. That was a tough shot. And interestingly enough, Judah Mintz out of the game, and because he's out of the game, Reese Beekman's out of the game. I think those two are going to be in the game against each other the entire day.
Yeah, no coincidence. Quadier Copeland is coming to run the point for the Orange, sophomore from Southwest Philadelphia. Here's Copeland guarding Gertrude. Bond off the bounce. Long 2 off the front rim. Starling trying to beat McKneely down the lane. He did dump it off, but Copeland went down. Syracuse keeps possession with 10 to shoot.
Got to be patient here. You got plenty of time.
Starling. And Copeland's going to be called for the over the back, as McKneely had much better position.
Well, in fact, there were 3 Cavaliers in between Copeland and the basket.
Ryan Dunn replaces Leon Bond III for Virginia. Here's McKneely, the former Polka Dot from Polka, West Virginia. Yes, his high school nickname was the Polka Dots. And on cue, he nails the 3. 8 points to lead all scorers for the 6'4" sophomore.
He had a very quick start the other night. And I think he's got to make 3s for Virginia to be really effective.
Taylor picked up his dribble and then threw it away. Here comes Gertrude in a flash, going end to end, and defended nicely by Starling.
Well, Gertrude was trying to draw the foul there.
Copeland lost a handle. Here comes Dunn. What do you know? And Dunn with 3 Orange defenders back, pulls it out. Now he attacks. And with 7:35 to go in the half, UVA up 2 with the basketball.
Syracuse man-to-man has been tough for Virginia to penetrate with the dribble.
McKneely, tough runner. And it's Copeland who pulls it down.
You know, I don't count that. If you get in there, fine. But if you take a tough shot like that, that's credit to the defense. The Syracuse defense has been very solid on that particular point.
And is it safe to assume, Dan, that for a program that played only zone for the last decade plus, Brown able to lay it in, that it's going to be a work in progress, and that you would presume they would be better now in their man-to-man than they were a month ago, and
Absolutely.
they'll be better a month from now?
Absolutely. That's a very fair statement. They do a great job pressuring the ball, and as I said, at least today, they're not allowing a lot of dribble penetration.
Rose comes up to set a screen. McKneely drives the other way. 7 to shoot. Here's Rhodey. As the crowd counts down. Boy, we just missed a highlight reel dunk. Ryan Dunn had that one lined up, but a foul called on the rebound against Malik Brown, his second. On ESPN, when we partner with the V Foundation to highlight the urgent need for cancer research, this is game-changing research that helps save lives. You can join the fight against cancer by visiting v.org/donate. 100% of your donation goes directly to cancer research. With Dan Bonner, I'm Doug Sherman in Charlottesville, Virginia, on this opening day of the ACC regular season. And the Hoos in orange have been tight from the start.
Again, I think the Syracuse defense has played very well. They've held Virginia to 40% shooting from the field, and they haven't really given them any easy shots.
Mintz keeps the dribble, goes inside to Brown, sees a double team, his pass deflected into the front row. The Orange will keep with 9 seconds to shoot. Adrian Autry, year number 1 as the head coach at his alma mater, class of 1994. A 51-year-old native of Harlem, New York. And his recruiting ties run deep in and around New York City. Also down in the D.C., Maryland area, which has always been such a key recruiting spot for Syracuse, dating all the way back to the early days of the 60s with Dave Bing. Mintz has to force it up. Beekman blocked it. Did the shot beat the buzzer?
Did it beat the foul call?
Well,
did the foul call beat the buzzer?
Clarence Armstrong was the one on the call. He and Jamie Luckey now will discuss it. We know where Red Autry's leaning.
We know where Tony Bennett. We know Tony Bennett's opinion as well. The question is, did the foul occur before the shot clock expired? And the officials are going to go over and take a look.
And by the way, Dan, I mentioned Dave Bing. Great to see that he is going to be inducted into the Syracuse Ring of Honor inside the Dome coming up later this season. Well, we don't have, obviously, tenths of a second.
Boy, that is very close.
Yeah, it looks like it's still in his hands.
Well, the question isn't the shot. The question is the foul.
Yeah, so
it's still in his hand, but did the foul, the shot wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be a three-point play because what you need to look at is the shot clock above the backboard. But the question is, did the foul occur before the shot clock went
off? And
it
looked to me that the contact from Dunn's hand onto the elbow of Malik Brown did come with about a second on the shot clock.
Well, a tenth of a second on the shot clock.
A tenth of a second.
Which I think goes right back to what we said. That's very close. So Copeland secures the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we lost the shot clock at the top, but you could still see the shot clock facing the other way. And again, it looked to me like with about a tenth of a second on the clock, there was contact. But we shall see.
Well, the question is, Clarence Armstrong put his fist up, but he never reported the foul to the table. So, okay, it's going to be a foul on Ryan Dunn.
Yep. So the Orange catch a break here on a possession that was going nowhere. They will get free throws out of it, and you see Clarence Armstrong explaining it to Tony Bennett, and now Jamie Luckey will come over and share it with my broadcast partner so that you can share what Mr. Luckey just shared with you.
Well, Doug, they're obviously wrong because we thought it was 0.1. He said it was 0.2 on the shot clock. So the foul occurred with 0.2.
So Quavier Copeland misses the front end. Young man out of Gettysburg High School. He's a Philly guy, as mentioned. Always has a smile on his face. Plays with a little flair.
Not a very good free throw shooter, though. Only 57% coming in.
Now 4 of 9 on the year after making 1 out of 2. And here's our premier matchup at the point. Judah Mintz defending Reese Beekman. They have been joined at the hip ever since the start. Beekman back to Rhodey, 10 to shoot.
Again, the Cavaliers, they're limited to the perimeter.
Williams knocks it away off the leg of the Cavaliers. Syracuse with the takeaway.
Really,
fourth turnover committed by the Hoos.
Really good defense. Well, in fact, a very important statistic for Virginia all year long has been the points off turnovers numbers, and Syracuse actually has 5 points off turnovers so far to Virginia's 2.
Copeland spins on McKneely, always looking to pass. He finds Taylor. And Dunn rips the rebound. McKneely got the defender in the air, finds some open ground, and nails the three-pointer. 11 points to lead all scores for McKneely.
That's when you know a three-point shooter's got it going. When he has to dribble that ball away, he can't just catch and shoot, but take that side dribble and knock down the three.
Rhodey with the steal. And the easy two. UVA with its largest lead of the afternoon. And you talked about points off of turnovers, Dan. You know eventually the Cavs are going to get there.
Well, Virginia does a great job stealing the basketball, and that's been very critical to their game so far.
UVA's defense is omnipresent. When McKneely's making threes and the defense plays like this, the Who's, especially here in Charlottesville, are tough to beat. Jones Arena, UVA on a 7-1 run over the last 220. And we'll see how the Orange respond against Reese Beekman and company. Interesting part of the schedule for UVA. Of course, we now have early December games in conference play. They won't have another Saturday home game in conference for 2 months, Dan.
That's sort of an oddity of the schedule, a surprising oddity.
Benny Williams had it blocked by Dunn. Here's Beekman again, able to cross over the defender, get beyond Mintz, and now draw the foul and a trip to the line.
Well, one of the few times Virginia, particularly Beekman, has been able to get in there, and that's because it was a transition situation created by that blocked shots. And Virginia Dunn in particular does a great job blocking shots, and that is a significant block because it resulted in a change of possession.
Tonight on ESPN, we'll have the men's basketball Legends of Basketball Las Vegas Invitational. USC squares off against number 11 Gonzaga at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN and the app. And of course, everybody's looking forward to the debut of Bronny James. He has been cleared medically, but not playing in this game yet. They're hoping that after maybe a week, he can get himself into games. And his father has said, no matter when that debut comes, if it coincides with a Lakers game, Dad is leaving the Lakers to go see his son.
Well, how much pressure is on that poor kid?
Yeah. Well, just the whole idea that for the last 4 years, 5 years, his father has said, my goal is to stay in the NBA long enough to be my son's teammate. Just putting that sort of pressure on your boy. But I guess it's just naturally there when your name is Bronny James, regardless of what your dad says. Well, Judah Mintz earning his first trip to the free throw line, which is a place he gets to quite frequently. Still looking for his first points here this afternoon.
Virginia, I think, had him defended pretty well. And I didn't see who it was. I didn't see who that foul was on, but whoever it was, they brought their arms down. And that's why the foul was called.
Jake Groves committed that foul. Mintz gets 1 out of 2. Under 4 minutes to go in the half. UVA with the ball. Rhodey trying to penetrate on Taylor. Quick shot off the window for 2. The sophomore from Brookfield, Wisconsin makes it 28-19 Virginia, which has picked up the pace, making 5 of its last 8 shots. Mintz got Beekman in the air, hangs in the air, and that is what number 3 does best.
Those are the first 2 times he's really been able to get all the way to the basket and put some pressure on the defense.
Ryan Dunn still looking for his first points this afternoon. Beekman inside the foul line, keeps the dribble, puts it up, tough shot.
Oh, that is a very tough shot. I think Adrian Autry felt like there should have been a 3-second call in there.
8 points now for Reese Beekman. Benny Williams leans in on Dunn and draws the foul. Physically, that's a marvelous matchup between those two, Williams and Dunn. As we head to break, 2:39 remaining in the half. defense, and why not, Dan? As usual, it can be suffocating as Syracuse now has one made field goal in the last 4:21.
Certainly Virginia can do that to you. The interesting thing about this, as Williams misses the free throw, that was the second personal foul on Ryan Dunn. So he's done here in the first half, but he has yet to score a basket. Ryan Dunn has no points, has only attempted one shot.
1 of 2 at the line for Benny Williams. The lead is 8-4 Virginia's. Beekman is defended by Mintz. Screen from Groves. And so the switch with Naheem McLeod back into the game. McKneely feeling it. Couldn't find the range on that one. The rebound goes to Syracuse. Jamie Luckey definitively says Groves was the last to touch. And Groves says, didn't touch it.
Well, there were 3 Syracuse players there, but I thought that Groves, the guy who hit it out of bounds. Virginia, not a great offensive rebounding team, and Groves has a point.
Well, Jamie Luckey had the same angle you and I did. McLeod double team. Let's see how he handles it this time. It did not go well the first time, and it goes worse the second. So twice he's gotten it on a lob in the post, and twice he's turned it over. And that was something you witnessed during practice yesterday, how it was going to be handled.
Syracuse worked on that, and part of the plan was not to have McLeod walk. That wasn't what they were trying to do. But things do not always go according to plan.
No. Under 2 minutes to go here in the half. UVA trying to inch away. McKneely stops on a dime, turns and shoots over J.J. Starling. 13 points for Isaac McKneely. His career high is 15.
And he has done a really good job both inside and outside the three-point line.
And Starling turns it over.
And this is another thing that Virginia defense does to you. You get in a hurry. You just heard Seth Greenberg say that defense can really hurt you. And that's what happens. You just get in a hurry. Not bad, huh?
Not bad at all. 7 turnovers forced so far today by that Virginia defense. McKneely, the cutter, drops it off for Bond. What a beautiful set on the offensive end for Virginia. Back into the game for the first time in quite a while. Tough baseline shot, well defended by Rhodey.
That's what you want to get Bell to do, is dribble the ball.
Beekman out to Bond. 38 seconds left in the half. Bond gives it back to Beekman. McKneely from near the logo. That's a new career high. And we've still got a half minute to go in the first half. Timeout Syracuse. Well, McKneely missed the Texas Southern game with an injury. He certainly appears to be back to full strength and firing from downtown. What confidence for the sophomore from Poca, West Virginia. Two-time Mr. Basketball in West Virginia.
Jerry West?
Don't have to go back that far. That's a great guess. Think Pro Football Hall of Famer. Randy Moss.
Randy Moss. Okay, there you go. There you go.
So he is off to a flying start here today. 4 made threes to match his career high. McKneely was a top 100 recruit a couple of years ago. Turned down his hometown Mountaineers to come here to Charlottesville. Shot clock off. Syracuse with 10 seconds with which to work. Bell and Taylor clear through. Here goes Mintz right to the bucket. And he lays it in with 2 on the clock. Well, Syracuse does a nice job coming out of that timeout to have something positive to go into the locker room with.
And Mintz went right by Reed Beastman, but McKneely, the big story in the first half. Virginia, when they combine that tough defense with red hot on.
Got to figure, Dan, going into the second half, we're going to see a more proactive Judah Mintz at the offensive end.
And we saw that at the end of the first half. Syracuse needs something to get the offense going.
Well, Mintz is the only orange man to have scored more than one field goal here this afternoon, and both of those came late in the first half, including a buzzer-beating layup before the break. Got a good look from Taylor in the corner. Dunn, still looking for his first points, has another rebound for Virginia.
Well, Dunn has only taken one shot. It's hard to score if you never shoot.
Beekman, McKneely, Rohde, Dunn, and once again Jake Groves in the starting lineup for UVA. Rohde, great fake. Terrific pass and an easy two for Jake Groves.
But the guy who made that all happen was McKneely. They threw him the ball, and immediately he gets double-teamed.
Bell may have gotten away with the travel. Under 10 seconds on the shot clock. Starling, tough runner off the window for two.
And that's one way that you can neutralize Isaac McKneely. You got to attack him when he's playing defense, and I don't think Starling did much of that in the first half.
Starling now with 5 points. He made a rare three-pointer in the first half. That's his first two-point bucket. Beekman takes advantage of Taylor on the switch.
How about that ball handling? I don't know how he dribbled it through all those hands in there.
Well, he is, among other things, terrific with the ball. He takes care of it. His assist to turnover ratio 3.6 to 1, which is number 3 in the conference. McLeod will go to the line to shoot two.
And they get that ball out of there once McKneely gets double teamed, and then when the double team comes to Rohde, he does a great job finding the player inside, and there was a lot of traffic in there that Beekman got through.
There's Reese Beekman, the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, third-team All-Conference last year. He was number 2 in the country in assist-to-turnover ratio, and he's better this year statistically so far. Now McLeod, the Florida State transfer, at the free throw line. Well, he had great energy, McLeod did, to start the game against LSU, and you felt like that was something else they were trying to establish here this afternoon.
He's a guy that I think Syracuse was trying to get involved early, and they threw him the ball early, but he traveled, and I think that maybe put a little crimp in his confidence.
Beekman gets a screen. That leaves Dunn wide open.
And again, Dunn is not a very good three-point shooter, only 23% coming in. He's missed both of them today.
But to me, Dan, his shot does not look broken. I think he can be a good shooter. Just the numbers don't back it up yet. But he has worked extensively on it. It's not unusual to see Ryan come out a couple hours before the game to work on his shot.
But I think if you're the Syracuse defense, you'd rather have him shooting from 3 than driving the ball to the basket.
Yeah, he's got some pretty good dunks on his highlight reel this year. Beekman has it poked out of bounds by Taylor. No fouls, so Virginia will keep with 14 on the timer.
Dunn obviously very, very talented, and I know he's working on the 3, but if you can't make the 3, get closer.
Grows to the high post. Beekman makes the quick pass to the corner. Good job by Bell to cut off Dunn. Rohde for 3.
And Syracuse, of course, in the zone because it was an underneath out-of-bounds play. And Virginia recognized and got the wide-open 3.
Taylor into McLeod. That cuts the lead back to 14. 16 was the largest difference so far today.
That's a good aggressive move by McLeod. Groves just too small to handle him if he keeps the ball up in the air.
Groves goes down, and Taylor's going to be whistled for the foul. Well, as we mentioned in the first half, Virginia's playing again today without Dante Harris, their backup point guard, who suffered an injury in practice the other day. Meanwhile, Syracuse remains without
There he is.
There he is, the former Georgetown Hoya. And then for Syracuse, Chance Westry made the trip. We have yet to see him make his Syracuse debut. He's the Auburn transfer who suffered a knee injury, underwent surgery. And I was told by Syracuse assistant Alan Griffin before the game that he is getting closer and that he'll be back on the court in a couple of weeks, starting the rehab process in terms of getting basketball ready. But his season is not over. J.J. Starling right to the cup.
Starling again with the drive to the basket, beats McKneely, and on the other end before, Virginia got the ball to Ryan Dunn where he was able to make one of those athletic plays on the inbounds pass.
Groves got it. Well, when the Hoos are shooting like this, they are going to be tough to beat. Meanwhile, Syracuse has not been able to stop them. They are shooting better than 60% so far here today. Red Autry uses a timeout as his team has fallen behind by 17 points here at JPJ. Tomorrow on ABC, UVA alumna Dawn Staley and #1 South Carolina square off against Duke at 1 Eastern, and then it's #10 Texas hosting #11 UConn. And we'll cap the day on ESPN with #16 Ohio State taking on #20 Tennessee. To donate to the V Foundation for Cancer Research, go to v.org. And here in Charlottesville, she is basketball royalty, as she is in Columbia, South Carolina. And we've had this conversation, Dan Bonner, over the years, myself and Corey Alexander, who's the best point guard in the history of Virginia basketball, and he smartly always defers to Dawn Staley.
Well, you wouldn't be wrong about that. I mean, Virginia's had some great point guards. I would actually go, Dawn Staley took him to Final Fours, was a tremendous player. I think as good a player as there was in her era.
And I encourage anybody who has not seen her, if you're younger, find her video. The things that she did with the basketball, other women at that time were not doing. She was absolutely breathtaking with the basketball.
The Caitlin Clark of her era, if you will.
There you go.
But people weren't following the women's game quite the way they are now.
Well, up over our right shoulder, Dawn Staley's retired #24 hangs here at JPJ as the men's version of the Wahoos continues to pour it on.
Doug, they just keep backing up on these three-point shots. They missed their first three, and they've been 7 of 10 since.
Well, Virginia has made 14 of its last 18 shots. Starling has it rattle out after a relatively slow start, but the Hoos are shooting it at better than a 60% clip today. Beekman missed it. Dunn kept it alive. Still loose. Dunn's the one who gets on the floor, and so Virginia has it to McKneely. Well, there's a cause and effect there. If only one player chooses to give up his body, you're going to get that reward. And extending on his career high, now 19 points for McKneely to lead all scorers.
A really nice job by Dunn to keep it alive, and then he dives on the floor, he gets it, kicks it out, and then McKneely, it seems like he hadn't missed today.
And as you said, he keeps backing up further. He's going to be back near midcourt shortly.
He's pretty close to back to midcourt before, and we've just had a turnover here because Reese Beekman jumped all over Judah Mintz, who fell down and tied him up. So the possession error goes to Virginia.
8th turnover committed by the Orange. And while Beekman is yet to have a steal today, he's in the middle of all of that. He's the head of the snake defensively, forcing those turnovers. 6 minutes into the second half, here's McKneely with Claudia Copeland defending. Rhodey, no.
That was a good job by Starling. Just was physical. Didn't allow himself to be pushed under the basket.
Here is Starling, defended by Dunn. Mintz thought about it. Now puts it up. And from the crowd reaction there and for the rest of the afternoon, you know it was an air ball.
Mintz has shot the ball better from three so far this year. Relatively low volume, coming in at over 40%. But the three-point shot has never been the strongest part of his game.
Well, he spent countless hours this summer back in his hometown Washington, D.C. He's listed as Fort Washington, Maryland. But he went back to Gonzaga Catholic High School's gym to shoot threes with his childhood friend, Devin Dinkins. And they got 3 after 3 after 3 up. And like you say, Dan, the early season numbers are better, but did not keep him from that air ball. Starling with a head of speed, and look at Dunn closing ground to swat it out of bounds. His second block of the day.
So that's why you switch Dunn up to Starling. This is very difficult to have the same kind of impact. Now he's past him, but Dunn does a great job following the play and just swatting it out of bounds. Now, interestingly enough, that goes as a block shot, and that's a good block shot, but the possession doesn't change.
Dunn averaging 2.9 blocks per game. That's 4th in the country. And just into the game for the first time, Kyle Tuck Jr. catches the ball and steps out of bounds. Also back into the game, a young man who's enjoying his second collegiate game, Elijah Gertrude, who had his first bucket on a breakaway slam in the first half for Virginia.
Well, Mintz is out of the game, so Beekman's out of the game, and Gertrude comes in.
Buchanan also back into the game at the 5 position with the basketball for Virginia. McKneely, the step back 3. He is feeling it.
They really ought to consider guarding him.
Well, we've received word that Reese Beekman has just gone back into the tunnel and is now coming back out. Remember, he is playing with a sleeve on his right knee that left him as a game-time decision the last time out. That turns it over. And so, while Beekman got through the Texas A&M game just fine, he still is playing with potentially some knee discomfort. So he got a quick check from the medical staff.
And he's over there stretching his knee, flexing. And, you know, Virginia's really playing well offensively. And that just enhances their defense because Syracuse figures they got to get things going, so they're starting to press a little bit, and Virginia's just really turning up the defensive intensity.
And now with Beekman on the bench, Gertrude able to run the point. Here's Dunn. Just rising up for 2 more.
And that's the perfect description, Doug. He just jumped up over everybody.
Mintz loses his footing. And a foul comes on the scramble for the basketball.
Who'd they get? They got Dunn. That's 3.
Well, Dunn, ever since he arrived here on the grounds last year, he does things in flashes, Dan, that really open your eyes and make you think, boy, he could be a superstar. And he'll take a seat with those 3 fouls.
Now, Beekman and Dunn are both on the bench. Now, Virginia's got a big lead, but Beekman and Dunn are both on the bench at the same time. Let's see if Syracuse can take advantage.
The Hoos are on an 11-0 run. Copeland, Mintz, Williams, Brown, and Cuff, the 5 on the floor in orange. Benny Williams barely nicked the iron there. And a foul against Syracuse sends Gertrude to the floor. That's a personal against Malik Brown. Everything going Virginia's way this afternoon on the opening day of the ACC season.
Keep in mind, they missed their first 3. And we said early in the game, the small lineup Virginia's playing, to be really effective, they have to make 3s. Well, they're making them.
And everybody in a Virginia uniform is knocking down shots.
That's right. Maybe that's the longest shot of the day, although not by much.
Well, McKneely has had a couple of them deep, but not quite as deep as the fan who hit that during a recent timeout. Bond with his second flush of the game.
Syracuse trying some pressure, and somebody missed an assignment. But McKneely has made 6 of 8 of his 3-point attempts.
And the turnovers really begin to mount. Mintz is fouled on his drive to the basket. McKneely and Bond were with him. And it is on Leon Bond III, the redshirt freshman from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. I just like saying Wauwatosa. From Wauwatosa East High School.
Well, Beekman's coming back in the game now because I think what we're going to see from Judah Mintz is he's going to be taking the ball at the basket every time.
You know who else went to Wauwatosa East?
No, I don't.
He just came back into the game, Reese Beekman.
Oh, there we go.
Before moving to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He's a Wisconsin native himself. Wauwatosa. Cuff puts it up and in. The former Kansas Jayhawk with his first three.
And here the Orange with some pressure.
That snapped a 13-0 run for the Cavaliers.
And Syracuse utilized this pressure very effectively. They were down 24 to Colgate in the second half. And they really turned the game around.
And with all due respect to Colgate,
they are not Virginia.
They are not Virginia. They are regulars in the NCAA tournament, the best team in the Patriot League annually, but still, they are not Virginia.
And now Syracuse drops back into a zone.
Bond inside Buchanan. Had it blocked by Benny Williams, but then the whistle comes for a foul. And talking before the game with Tony Bennett, I asked him, is Virginia's preparation for a Syracuse game dramatically different now without Coach Boeheim? And he kind of chuckled and said, yes, we never used to have to work on going against man-to-man.
Well, they're in a zone that time,
yep.
And Williams just let Buchanan cut in front of him. And even as a zone, you can't do that.
Well, Blake Buchanan has certainly had his moments as a first year out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Started 4 games, now back into a reserve role for now. Another young man with a tremendous upside.
He's going to get stronger, and, you know, he's really has a chance. He's got some skills if he works at it. And freshmen always have ups and downs, so that's not a surprise.
Copeland gives it up to Williams. Strong move to the bucket, missed the layup. Crashing was Cuff. Out of bounds to Virginia.
And Virginia recovers that ball, but that's part of Buchanan's problem right now. He's just not as strong as he needs to be to play the post in the ACC. Ball got knocked out of his hands that time.
Listed at 6'11", 225. It'll be interesting over the years to see how much muscle and weight he is able to put on. Gertrude thought about it. Bond at the high post, back outside to Beekman. Buchanan double team. Copeland got a hand on it, knocked it out of bounds. Virginia will keep it on the baseline.
Well, that was a funny double team down there. And Buchanan, I think if he just turned to the baseline, he could have beaten the double team.
On the baseline, out of bounds. It's one thing to go zone, but you can't lose track of anybody, let alone Tane Murray, who can also shoot it.
Virginia now has made 10 threes, and that ties their season high.
Cuff from the other side. Long rebound to Bond.
Boy, and that time Brown, all he had to do was turn around. There was nobody between him and the basket, and he elected to pass it.
Beekman for 3. And it's raining threes in Charlottesville for the Wahoos.
Well, not a lot you can do about that if you're Syracuse. Beekman, he shoots under 30% from 3 on the year, but just everything going Virginia's way at the moment. Copeland
lob it up. Malik Brown has to come down with it and then lays it in. 6 for a young man out of the Blue Ridge School, a Virginia native. Again, the Orange playing with a couple of home state guys. Bond missed the dunk, and Tane Murray with the offensive rebound. Spotting up. Elijah Gertrude missed the rim. Buchanan had it knocked out of bounds off of him and back to Syracuse. Virginia really knocking the threes down. The zone defense, you know, just not very aggressive on that particular occasion. But again, if you're going to leave somebody open, Beekman is one of the guys you leave alone. Wow. He came into the game 6 for 22 from beyond the arc. A typical day for number 2 in white for Virginia. 13 points, 8 assists, and he'll take another seat. Rhodey has returned for UVA. J.J. Starling has come back on for the Orange. Quadir Copeland makes things happen on both ends for Syracuse.
That was really good patience by Syracuse. Virginia defense was scrambling around, and they made him do it so long, the defense finally broke down.
Which is rare for Virginia. They play the shot clock to me, Dan, on both ends as well as anybody in the country. Buchanan with the dunk.
Well, Syracuse is playing zone, but when your primary defense is man-to-man, sometimes your zone isn't as effective.
Starling back out to Copeland. Second defender comes, makes Copeland pick up the dribble back to Starling. And he lost it.
Boy, it's just hard to get in there. Those secondary defenders come and help, and there's just no room.
12 turnovers now for the Orange. Buchanan from the high post. Rhodey finds the open man in the corner. Tane buries the three. Tane Murray with back-to-back triples since coming off the bench.
That's how you attack a zone, side to side, in and out.
Cuff. Well short. And he's out of bounds. It's Virginia basketball. Well, last time out, no Who's against Texas A&M coming off the bench scored. That's not a thing today against Syracuse. Into the act is Blake Buchanan. The Year Award. This just in, Dan Bonner. Caitlin Clark's pretty good.
Well, I'm telling you, there's obviously an unprecedented interest in women's basketball. It's great to see, and she's responsible for it as much as anybody.
Malik Brown having himself a nice game. The follow-up slam.
That's the first time Syracuse press has produced a basket. They get another steal.
Copeland. He'll have a chance for three.
Well, suddenly now Syracuse has gotten a couple of turnovers and scored as a result of those turnovers. They got a long way to go. But that's Gertrude makes a mistake. When you're working against the press, you don't leave your feet to pass the ball.
Well, with such a big lead, I would think it's an opportunity for Tony Bennett to maintain the fact that Dunn and Beekman are on the floor and let the younger, newer guys handle this pressure. Into the game for the first time is the Merrimack transfer. Jordan Minor, number 22.
The Orange have gone back to man-to-man.
Bond, catch and release.
That's
off the front iron.
Shot.
Taylor.
And even on the missed shot, Syracuse is trying to apply pressure.
Gertrude.
Oh, wow.
The reverse just goes off the iron. 3 attempts at the rim. Bond couldn't finish.
Well, Minor couldn't finish. Bond couldn't finish.
Starling off a little head fake. A whistle on the shot that was good. Count the basket and a foul against Virginia.
Minor just, I mean, in that situation, you either get out of the way or you jump straight up in the air, but you don't turn your back and go right into the guy. So suddenly a little flurry here for Syracuse.
Starling leads the Orange in offense here today. Just over 6 minutes remaining in regulation. The Orange on a 8-0 run. And again, it's without Beekman and without Dunn on the floor. UVA having trouble getting the ball up court and having trouble getting into their offense against this pressure defense just lately. Dangerous pass out to Tane Murray.
And again, Syracuse goes into the zone when Virginia has the ball out of bounds underneath.
And Rhodey certainly is comfortable with the ball in his hands. He played some point guard at St. Thomas last year as an excellent freshman. He was the Summit League Freshman of the Year. And getting more of an opportunity here with Beekman out. Starling, no. And Leon Bond with a basketball. Now let's see if the Hoos can run some offense. They have missed their last 6 from the floor.
And Syracuse's defense has had something to do with that. Virginia has really struggled to get into any sort of a rhythm. They're Orange now back in the zone.
Minor bottled up. Rhodey's bounce pass is kicked, so the shot clock goes to 20.
Boy, that was not a well-advised pass. You know, throwing through a lot of legs in there. Very fortunate to get a kick out of that.
Gertrude lobs. Bond couldn't come down with it. Here comes Starling. He's got numbers.
That's the way it's gone for Syracuse. They had a 3-on-1 and they weren't able to execute it.
Tane Murray misses from the right corner. Copeland goes up and over the Virginia player for that rebound. Bell can have the slow release, and Gertrude was waiting for it.
Bell didn't have any room over there because Gertrude runs right at him. And that's a situation where, you know, Bell, we said, you want to make him put the ball on the deck, and he elected not to do it. And Gertrude at 6'4" jumps very well.
Andrew Rhodey gets a nice round of applause. Bond deflects the inbound pass.
And it's a good thing he did because Taylor was running totally free. This is an interesting lineup in the game for Virginia.
Taylor has the inbound pass go right through his fingertips. It has not been a particularly memorable return to his hometown of Charlottesville for Justin Taylor. He commits the 13th Syracuse turnover on the day. Out of bounds. UVA turns it back over to Syracuse.
Well, Murray threw the ball to Gertrude in coffin corner over there where he's got his back to the court. Now he's double teamed. There's very little he can do. And that's not really Murray's fault. He's got to get the ball in bounds. Virginia's got to give him another option.
Taylor with an air ball.
Look out.
Pass coming this way. Thanks to Leon Bond for saving us. But while he did that, he stepped on the sideline. That's a turnover I can get behind. I appreciate that.
We appreciate that. Absolutely. The game has suddenly gotten more than just a little bit sloppy.
Indeed it has. Coach Bennett, in spite of having a 25-point lead, I'm guessing has a little bit of a slow burn going right now. There's a shot fake from Bell, who puts it on the deck and calmly knocks down the 2.
And that's a good play by Bell. You know, that was a great job by Murray to go running at him. That's what you want to do. But Bell messed up that strategy by taking a dribble and making the 2.
Under 4 minutes remaining in regulation. Gertrude in his second collegiate game, the former Albany City Rock, where he played his AAU hoops. Contact on the drive. Just the 4th team foul against Syracuse here in the second half, and it takes us to our next media timeout. All UVA. Still to climb, and Judah Mintz has been stuck on 5 points since the first half. Dan, he has only attempted 2 shots from the floor here in the second.
Well, and it's hard to attempt him from where he is right now. One of the big keys to the game has been the fact, obviously, that Virginia's knocked down 12 threes. It's hard to beat somebody when they score 12 threes against you. And Mintz, who had such a productive game against LSU, he's only 1 for 2 from the free throw line tonight. And I think that's even more important than the number of shots that he's taken. He got fouled 11 times in that LSU game.
There's a foul that goes against Syracuse. Yeah, during that timeout, Tony Bennett was getting after his team a little bit in the huddle because, again, they have allowed 10 unanswered points to Syracuse. And you know better than I do, Dan, coaches are always looking for something to coach up the guys, and for this second unit, they need to play better. Today on ACC Network, as you see, Florida State's in Chapel Hill to take on number 17 North Carolina coming up at 2 Eastern time.
And Florida State is just hoping that North Carolina will have cooled off a little bit from that unbelievable performance they gave against Tennessee.
My goodness. But I'll tell you what, I'm happy for Coach Hamilton to see the Seminoles being better so far this year. That is a program the last couple of years, along with Syracuse and Louisville, that the ACC needs to play at the level that we became accustomed to. And the Noles do appear to be heading back in the right direction. They're healthy again this year.
Well, they're healthy, and you just can't count out Florida State. They're so well coached, and they usually do such a great job in terms of team chemistry. And as long as they have enough guys, they should be fine.
And again, for the Syracuse fans who may still be with us right now, if you want to see Jim Boeheim's television debut with the ESPN family of networks, he'll be on that call along with Corey Alexander and Wes Durham coming up at 2 o'clock over on the ACC network. Well, it's been a while since Jim Boeheim took over for Roy Danforth. Jimmy Carter was elected president that year. Apple was founded. Rocky was the movie. And Silly Love Songs. I know you remember that, Dan. Can you hum a few bars for us?
No.
Well, he is just the 8th head coach in the long history of Syracuse basketball. And when somebody goes 47 years, that will limit the total number of guys who've had the whistle. And so Coach Autry continuing to implement his vision of this program. Yeah, back in the mid-'70s, you were here about 200 yards from where we sit over at University Hall doing some coaching for both the men and the women, right, Dan?
Well, it's always been exaggerated, but I spent 2 years as the head coach of the women's basketball team. And the best thing about that is I met my wife.
Oh.
And I got to work with Debbie Ryan, and obviously I didn't teach her anything, but they made the correct decision when they decided they didn't want me to do it anymore. They wanted Debbie to do it because she went to the Hall of Fame.
I would still say that was pretty good coaching on your part. Elijah Gertrude getting valuable minutes.
And these are valuable minutes. This just isn't sort of an end of the game thing, because this is an ACC team with really good athletes who's pushing you and pressing you, trying to get back in the game. And you have a guy like Elijah Gertrude trying to stand up to this kind of pressure. He needs to feel it, and he needs to experience it, and he needs to be successful against it.
The foul sends Benny Williams to the line. Tonight on ESPN, we'll have the men's basketball Legends of Basketball Las Vegas Invitational. USC squares off against number 11 Gonzaga, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN and the app. No Bronny James just yet, but he has been medically cleared and will debut as a Trojan in the not-too-distant future, just not tonight.
Boy, and there is a lot of pressure. Virginia's guys have to be really tough with the basketball.
It's good to see Bryce Walker into the game. He's a young man who was a 3-year practice player at Virginia, who earned his jersey a few weeks ago, made his debut, I believe, against Texas Southern. And the young man from Beltsville, Maryland, getting an opportunity to play a couple of minutes in the ACC opener. Here is 42, the Jackie Robinson number, of course.
The Orange elect to stay back in the zone.
Buchanan from the foul line rises up nicely. The closeout by Malik Brown didn't affect him at all.
Buchanan can shoot it a little bit from that range. You know, we've seen even in his appearance in the last few minutes, he struggles with hanging on to the ball against really physical presence against him.
And the big round of applause is for that man, Tristan Howe, senior walk-on, a recruited walk-on from Virginia Beach. He had Division III offers out of Norfolk Collegiate, but decided to be a Who, and getting an opportunity to play the last minute and a half. Bell. And the stick back by Brown. He's into double figures. Only 2 Syracuse players have reached double digits. J.J. Starling is the other.
That's a great job by Bond to come to that ball.
Minor lost it on the way up. Copeland tries to knock it off of Howe. And then foul against Syracuse will send Tristan Howe to the line for an opportunity to get himself into the scoring column.
Well, Minor bringing the ball down the court is a perfect reason why coaches want guards to bring the ball up the court.
Well, with conference play beginning today, Miami's already beaten Notre Dame. Virginia well on its way to beating Syracuse. Coming up at 2 o'clock on ACC Network, North Carolina and Florida State. Duke will take on Georgia Tech, and then NC State against BC, and then a busy schedule tomorrow as well, as most everybody gets into action as we have these early December conference games and then go back to non-conference play for the most part. And the games tomorrow. Clemson off to a terrific start to the year. Pittsburgh was in the NCAA tournament a year ago. Clemson just missed, but that's a big early game. And Clemson shows the signs, Dan, of being a tournament team, and maybe even more than that this year.
Well, but that's a tough road game against the Panthers because Pitt, you know, under Jason Capel, they are Jeff Capel. Jason is the assistant, so it's both the Capels. They really did a good job turning that program around, getting them not only to the NCAA tournament, but winning in the NCAA tournament. So they've got it certainly headed in the right direction, and there'll be a very tough out for Clemson playing at Pitt.
No doubt. Well, last year when those two teams met for the first time in January, it was in Pittsburgh, and both of them were 4-0, showing indications that they both had good things to come.
Okay.
Starling buries it, his second made 3 of the ball game.
So he's got twice as many today as he started with.
Yeah. The teardrop. How about Tristan Howe for 2? The People's Choice brings everybody to their feet here at John Paul Jones Arena. Under Tony Bennett, only 12 times before this year had they scored 80 points in a game, and they are up to 84 and counting. Quadir Copeland.
They've scored 84 points, and they'll be happy about that, but he will not be happy that they gave up 62. What a performance.
Well, this is the 3rd time this year the Hoos have gone for more than 80, and they win their ACC opener.
A very, very impressive performance. They're going to be tough to beat when they can make threes at the pace they made them today.